Welcome into another episode of Cheat Code Weekly, where we discuss everything video game collecting and investing. I am, of course, Greg, once again joined here by Henry. And today we're going to talk about graded video game collecting as it compares to other hobbies, be it of TCG, sports cards, graded comics, because in 2025, as it is, video games continues to be more of a niche hobby compared to those giants in the space, your TCGs, your sports cards, and your comics. Those are the biggest graded collectibles that exist. Hey, I don't think I'm missing it. I guess toys are up there, but they seem
Pop culture, they're the biggest. Yes,
yeah,
I think
pop culture.
coins and stuff. But I think it's bigger than all those. Yeah.
Right, coins. I guess I don't know enough about coins, talk about coins. So we're doing pop culture. So with some of that, it does have to do with how new video games are. It just is what it is. A lot of people didn't even know video game grading existed when it was only VGA since 2008, I think. The WATA games controversy, for good or bad, was the first time a lot of people ever heard about that you could grade video games. So in that sense, we are a super new side of this hobby. It just is what it is. But even with that, video games have distinct differences in how participants are able to interact with this hobby, how people are able to enter into this hobby, be it the ways that you can invest, the gambling that does or doesn't exist in this side of the space here, accessibility, barriers to entries. All of these determine where someone actually might put their attention in the pop culture hobby. Because there is a lot of cross collecting that happens, be it cards, comics, TCG. A lot of people do collect multiple categories. I personally am TCG. I do Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh quite a bit as well, on top of video games. What do you do, Henry? Are you in anything else
No,
much?
just games. I mean, I collect some was it 89 tops Nintendo cards. That's really about it.
Okay.
Some Nintendo powers here and there, but
Yeah,
nothing else.
you're gateway drugging. You'll get in there. You're
Oh no, no, no.
one step away from TCG, one step away from comics is what it sounded like.
Blinders are on. I'm not gonna buy Celeste if I want to buy Mario. So I got my blinders on. All right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how you hold up with that. But let's just go through a pros and cons here of what video games offers as a hobby, why someone might get into this versus these other big giants of the pop culture collectible category. But
Yeah.
with the market size, would you say it's a pro or a con for video games? Because we are on the smaller side.
Yeah, I would sort of view it more as like con perspective. Yeah, sure, you can when you're in such a small category, you can get like the grail level stuff for without competing against 50 other people. But it's also like when you buy stuff and then let's say you bought something that you don't really want. And then if it's like a non-main IP that it's a really esoteric game that no one really cares about, if you'd want to sell it back to the market, it's very likely that if you're not taking a 50% haircut, that you're just going to be stuck with it because there's no liquidity, right? Because if the market is so small, you don't have as many participants, you don't have that money flowing in and out, in and out. Like you're not gonna have as many people who like certain things. Everything is just gonna be more like I want main IP type of deal, right? Like you
No,
can
you're
sell
I
Mario and Zeldas and Pokemon's easy, but you can't really sell, I don't know, let me make up a game like elevator action as easily
I'm
as you
even
want
feeling
to.
it though on that Yoshi story. I mean, I know that's become a meme right now of the channel, but like that VGA 95 I purchased, I have no offers on it around break even price. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
much I'm gonna have to lose in order just to get rid of it. But Yoshi's Story VGA 95 is a I was gonna call it a marquee title, but it's a good game.
You're trying to pump it now. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
trying to get that offer.
the
Gotcha.
best N64 has to offer. But it's a good title.
Yeah.
It's Yoshi, it's Nintendo, it's Mario. And even there, you are absolutely correct about the market size dictating. It makes it very, very difficult to come in and out of purchases quickly.
Yeah, I feel like if you make a mistake, you get really punished here.
Yeah,
Versus
yes.
something like, let's say you just like, I mean, how long ago did you buy the Yoshi story? A couple months ago, right?
November, five
Yeah.
months.
So let's say you bought a TCG card and you bought it 5 months ago, and you're like, oh, I don't really like it anymore. I'm sure you could sell it back, like as long as like nothing drastic happens to the TCG market. You probably sell it like for maybe 10% loss or something like that. Like it's liquid, but then for you, like you might need to take a big haircut on it just to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's
You
funny.
know?
When I brought it up, I was going to say it's a pro because the other side of it is less competition. You can get stuff. Especially if
Yeah.
you're doing like the eBay raw to graded game, if you're buying raw stuff on eBay, paying attention to auctions, you just have a lot less competition. I don't even know how someone would find raw sports cards, raw TCG in 2025. To me, it seems like raw comics in 2025, looking for stuff to grade, sounds impossible to me. But video games, man, I mean, there's still tons of raw stuff out there. So I was gonna say it's a pro, but oh man, that's tough. I don't know. I'm
Well, okay, just to speak on like the sports cards thing, there are definitely YouTubers out there who would literally go and hunt like raw collections. But by and large, most of them are like 80s, 90s junk wax. But
yeah,
sometimes
yeah, yeah.
you get the, Diamond and Rough is like, oh, I got like 52 top set or something like that.
Yeah,
So
like I
people
when I
do
think about
that.
raw sports, junk, you can go I have junk slabs or
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
90s hockey cards. I meant anything of substance.
But it's also to speak to the market, right? Like you actually have people whose full-time jobs are going and like looking for these sports cards collections to grade and resell into the market. Like that's literally their entire job. You're not going to have anyone doing that for games, by and large.
It's we know who
Or
they
at
are.
least for
They
graded games. At least for graded games,
yeah,
yeah.
we know
But
that
we
there's
we,
a few
we
of them on YouTube, right? Like we
there are
know the
few of
big
them.
ones. There's like 3 of
Yeah,
them.
but for graded games, like that's not really
Oh
a
no, no,
thing.
they aren't even
Yeah,
looking at sealed. You don't even care. They
exactly.
don't matter. Doesn't move the needle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you brought this up a little bit here. So let's talk about pump catalysts then. I would say it does not exist in games. You mentioned with comics and stuff, Marvel movies, you get a new movie, you get a new thing, sports, rookies, and all this. There's always somewhere where you can gamble or speculate your money in a very, very heavy way. And I'm going to say it's a con for video games that we don't really have this. Even if a new series come out, like let's say the new Mario Kart's going to come out on Switch, your copy of Mario Kart, the original one you own, very, very likely is not going to see any kind of noticeable push bump. You know what I mean? People aren't going to race out to buy Mario Kart, the first one, just because a new entry's coming out on Switch. How do you see it?
No bump whatsoever. Yeah. I guess it depends on what side of the coin you're on. If you're like, I just want to collect stuff, and then without worrying about, external factors like, oh, what movie's gonna come out, I think it could be a pro. Like if you just want to collect what you want to collect. But if you want like action and stuff
Yeah,
going
that's how
on,
I see it from an action side. Like, you want to see stuff happening,
yeah. You
excitement.
want stuff happening. Yeah, there's none of that here. It I mean, games are cool in the fact that like you can relive your nostalgia, and if you find it, it's an awesome find because they're organically rare. They're at least in sealed condition, in good condition. They're hard to find. So people get that chase factor. When they get that chase factor, that's like their I guess dopamine hit. But yeah, we really don't have anything that will 3x something overnight. But you
I
have
want
that
to
with
give a
cards all the
small
time.
mention to CIB because I know, like, you might have saw Okami 2 was coming out. Sometimes
Okay.
when a sequel gets announced for a game that's been dormant for like 15, 20 years, I'm pretty sure the price of Okami went up like 2 to 3x. CIB, I don't even think factory
Okay.
sealed moved that much, right? But the value of
Yeah,
CIB might have went from 20 to 60. I'm just baking numbers, but sometimes we see
sure.
something like that. Or if a YouTuber makes a video. That's
Yeah,
it.
but not for graded games or not for
No, no,
sealed.
no,
That's it.
no.
There's no catalyst. I think the only catalyst for something to go up is if more people come in. That's it.
That's
If
like,
the market grows.
yeah.
That's really it. There's no other external factor besides the market needs to grow.
Yeah, we move at a very steady now, especially now that we're done crashing. It's just like we are for now, anyway. For now,
Well, it's more in line with comics now, but
yep,
like ever since the Marvel bump is gone, basically, they're back to where they were before.
yeah, yeah. Which is just a steady. Like it shouldn't be. Man, everyone got so distorted from. I know Rudy talks about it a lot.
Yeah, it's not only that. I think for even for TCG and sports card, not modern vintage stuff, it also acts in the same you know same way. It's just steady and hopefully up. As long as the market grows for TCG and sports cards and comics and games, it's a steady and up for vintage stuff.
Yeah,
But for
yeah,
modern
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
it's just completely, shot in the dark. Whatever happens, happens.
A big thing with those, right? We talk about the vintage stuff or even the speculative side of those hobbies. You have your IP risk versus your like real life athlete or like real life person risk. So I know we all have talked. You all know an athlete or something who has ruined his career or ruined all value of his associated items. Kanye West is a very recent one. If you were doing anything speculating with him, but real life people can change their circumstances in ways that video games or even TCG absolutely cannot.
Yeah, TCG and even comics, like,
Yeah, yeah, comics as well, exactly.
everyone says, Charizard's not going to tear ACL, Superman's not going to commit adultery, and Mario's
Yeah.
not going to die off one day, right? Like, for example, like in sports cards, when Kobe passed away, that sort of made his market sort of
George Foreman
especially
just passed.
sign cards. Something like a George Foreman card, it might go up 2x or something, even though it sounds a little bit shady that you're trying to profit off of someone's death,
Yeah,
but that
it's always
stuff like that
it's a
happens.
dark topic, but it is like
Yeah.
a I don't want to say it's its own industry, but it's kind of its own industry.
Yeah, and people do in sports cards, people do buy up, these older athletes. Let's say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's getting up there in age.
Yup,
Oh, let me quickly get his signature. Like they do plan for that. So
yup,
it's like the IP risk could be in a positive way or a negative way. If you have someone like a Wander Franco who's like doing Diddy type of stuff, yeah, you just ruin everything. And people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for the best rookie cards, right?
yep.
And now it's basically $1,000. It's literally 99.9% down.
Yeah, it's
So
gone. The value of anything that happened, even if you're speculating in a rookie, right? Like we can look at Wemby, and he had like what? It was a blood clot in his leg or something.
blood
Like
clot,
that.
yeah.
That is terrifying for anyone sitting there who had bought a card of his for like $100,000 because you just
Yeah.
don't know. You don't know where that's going to lead. Is this the start of something? What if he breaks his? It's just like, ah, man. I personally have zero interest in doing that. But again, like that's why I see it as a pro. But I know there's people who like that gambling aspect too, where it's like
They
that's
like that
action.
volatility. They
Yes,
like that
there's
volatility.
exactly right.
I mean, typically speaking, these type of markets, they don't have that volatility, right? Like games and comics and even TCG. But until recently, it seems like
Yep.
this whole modern craze is creating that volatility for all these TCG card games. Um,
TCG
but
is
yeah,
following more of the
typically it doesn't.
sports.
It is because it has like pack opening aspect, but haven't even gone into serialization yet. So can you imagine if there was like a one of one Charizard card?
Yep. Look what it did to Magic the Gathering,
Crazy. Yeah,
right? That one of
exactly.
one ring card that was what bought by Post Malone or something for like 800K. It just like created. It
No,
was like,
it was like 2.3 mil or something
oh,
like that.
was
You're
it? Oh
like,
my
oh,
god. Okay.
yeah, seven figs, man.
You gotta love when the company can just like print that, you know what I mean? But it created like a worldwide phenomenon of people hunting these Magic the Gathering. Like I almost bought Magic the Gathering cards. I don't care about it at all. But it was like, oh man, that's like
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah,
Video
yeah.
games we might get to kind of spot there, but well, we'll talk about it a little
Potentially,
bit more. As far as IP
yeah,
risk and stuff goes, if you're buying video games, comics, animated characters, there's a safety there. There's a real nice safety net.
yeah.
Let's talk about the potential profit then. Over time and both immediately, because I really do think this is the number one thing that exists that will forever keep video games smaller than some of these other hobbies. Because breakers, rippers, gambling. That is what has taken over basically TCG sports cards since, I guess, kind of a pandemic phenomenon. I mean, that's the first
Yeah.
time I became aware of it. I'm sure there was smaller breaking or smaller rip and ship taking place prior, but it seemed like really the rise of whatnot, the rise of this streaming culture around the
Yeah.
cards too. You might remember on Twitch there. That was, I guess, yeah. Logan Paul did his. Every big Twitch streamer was doing it. It became a like again a worldwide phenomenon of people like having other people open cards for you and purchasing into gambling. Just strictly a gambling environment.
And I'll tell you, the YouTube people that I watch for like sports cars, they all hate it because they're more of like the old heads, right? They're like, I'm the collector or I'm the investor, and I don't care about any of this modern crap. And then you have all these breakers that are doing shady stuff all the time, and they just keep getting away with it, and people hate it. But whatnot just keeps growing, so like it almost doesn't matter. Like people, I feel like it's the gateway for new people to come into the hobby because once they
Absolutely.
realize that when they rip cards or when they rip modern stuff, 90% of people lose. If you're spending $500, 90% of people will get maybe $100 back. So I think eventually people are gonna catch on. It's like, hey, this the expected value of me ripping this stuff really isn't worth it unless
Oh,
if you're really
people.
made of money bags,
Are
right?
you about to
Like,
say that the casino's gonna fail? Like people are gonna figure out the casino's a scam, man. Like they're not gonna
yeah,
go
yeah.
there
No, well,
anymore.
that's what
Of
I'm
course
saying.
they are. Of course they
Yeah,
are.
they're gonna come.
People.
Some portion of people will come back to it, but eventually, like I don't think the people who go join Whatnot streams have money. That's why they go to Whatnot streams,
Yes. Yes, you
right?
go there for the
If
chance.
if you have the money, you would buy the damn box yourself and do it yourself. So
But
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
the
Like eventually people are gonna figure it out. They're like, oh, I only have $1,000. I'm and risk 500 and I'm only getting $100
but
back.
it
So it doesn't.
it could be 10,000. It could be.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
the
guess it's a
beauty of
lottery
it.
system and poor people still play the lottery.
I
So
take it you
maybe
don't
it'll
gamble
just
much?
keep going on.
Do you gamble much?
I mean, no, I don't. I don't.
Okay, okay. I could figure by how you were talking about it there. I'm not a big casino goer myself, but like I like slots.
Yeah, I guess as long as there are enough poor people with the chance to like get, 10 extra money, they're just gonna keep coming back, and maybe that's why Whatnot's still so successful because it doesn't matter how many people lose money because they're just gonna either someone's gonna replace them or just they're just gonna come back later on.
Yeah,
But
it's that one thing in games where we don't have, someone can go out and buy a pack and maybe cost $10 for a pack or whatever, and you can pull something worth 100. Games just don't have that dopamine chase, especially on the graded side. The one thing I
yeah,
guess you could compare it to would be going out and hunting because you can go to
yeah.
thrift stores, you can go that's your one spot where you can kind of get that same kind of dopamine hit where someone newer to video games, they might not ever purchase off of eBay, say. They might only I local hunt, I Facebook marketplace, thrift stores, you know what I mean? They're chasing that dopamine high versus being a true collector or whatever you want to say.
But I don't think you get the dopamine hit when you're grading cards anyway. You're just the only hit you get is like is a 10 or a 9 or whatever, right?
With grading
The grading
specifically,
yeah, the grading aspect of it doesn't give you the dopamine. It's opening the pack that gets you dopamine, right?
no, I know. That's why I
Yeah.
related it to the hunting and the thrifting and just finding
Yeah.
something cheap that's worth something.
Yeah. But then when you talk about graded games, it's more of the aspect of getting that item that's the dopamine hit or like chasing after item
I
rather than opening up
I
the pack.
personally think it is still grading equals gambling. I do. I still think it's the dopamine hit of doing it. Because I
Of
like
getting the number, of
yes, of
getting
getting the
like the
number.
10. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, of course, of course.
chasing the number, right?
But that also is prevalent in games too, as well as cards, right?
Yep, yep.
You still have that hit.
That's where I get my gambling hit. But I would imagine
Okay.
if we could gamble on top of our gambling, how
Yeah,
great
yeah,
would
yeah.
that
So
be?
that's the difference. Like, but okay, the gambling aspect is opening up the pack and it's easy, right?
Yep.
The hard part about games is that you can still get the dopamine hit, but you have to like chase after something or try to find it somewhere. It's not accessible to everyone. You have to know who has what, and then your dopamine is the journey to getting that game that you want.
Well,
But not
you
everyone can have access to that.
Yeah,
Very few
well,
people can,
yeah,
right?
I think the big issue with these hobbies here is that TCG in sports has become speculator driven by
Yeah,
a large margin. So you have, let's say games right now are 90-10, like actual
yeah,
collectors versus speculators gambling on grading, hunt like only flipping graded stuff.
yeah.
But in your TCG in sports, it's like it seems like that's what everyone is doing. So even if you're
Modern, modern,
modern,
modern.
modern,
You gotta say
yeah,
modern.
specifically
Because
modern,
you're talking about vintage, I would say it's also like that 80-20 rule for
yeah.
anything vintage is more along like the investment line because Mickey Mantle's not gonna come out of his grave and then like hit 2 home runs, right? He's gone. But
Well,
you
yeah,
believe in
you have to go to
in that.
vintage to get
Yeah.
actual end users, because
Yes.
it seems like now TCG and why these hobbies keep growing though. Speaking of long term and immediate profit here, people just chase that. People just want the hit now. It's now. Video games aren't a now thing.
Okay, here is a view of the future that I think is possible in which you would actually get that hit, all right? Let's say physical video games are dead, and then only you got these LRG companies that come out with this stuff. Imagine they start serialization of a certain game because they're already limiting it to 50. Maybe it's like, or maybe like this game has a specific cover and only 10 of the out of the 50 get this cover. And then on top of that, imagine if they actually like partner up with one of these grading companies and then they come out with like, remember then didn't WATA do something about like one of those horror games where like
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah, yes,
intentionally messed up the front of the cover.
yep.
I actually thought that was really
It
cool.
was
And
called
it,
like
yeah,
Radilium or something. Radilium. It didn't even have like a
I
real
forget the
word.
name. Yeah, I forget
Yeah,
the name of the game, but it was actually really cool when you're trying to get like the lowest grade possible. And you're trying to get a 1 out of 10 because they literally like put the game on fire or
yeah, yeah. I
something
think
like
they
that.
lit on fire 10 copies or something and like
Yeah,
melted them and made like variant covers out of 50 total, maybe or something. It was something like that.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but out of something like I even thought that was really cool, but you actually don't see them come out. Like how many actually publicly sold? Maybe one? I only saw like one that was
Yeah, I think I
available.
saw one or maybe two, and they sold like they were expensive. Like, they were
They were
very
over a
expensive.
thousand dollars, weren't they?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I can find it here when I edit.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were expensive.
So you can actually have that sort of chase. And I guess you don't even need physical media to be dead. You just need these allergy type of companies to agree to do something like that. So
Yep.
it's possible to create a chase in games as well. It's just it's not inherently in like pack openings. You have to like manufacture that chase.
Yeah, yeah, we absolutely like I guess we had collector's editions and stuff, but most of them aren't rare to any regard
No, you
whatsoever.
need like serialization,
Yes,
that sort of,
yes.
you need all those gimmicks to come on to be like, oh, I want this new item. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
And I guess we already touched on it a little bit here, but with barrier to entry to get into graded video games versus graded cards, I mean, it's a con. It is. The barrier's higher in games. What is it? Retail is 50, $60 to buy a game right now, and then grading
Yeah.
is like 35 minimum, something like that.
Let's just say it takes like $100
Yeah,
to grade a game.
that's
A new
pretty
game.
much. Yeah, $100 minimum. If you want to go to the store and buy the brand new Zelda game or the brand new Mario, you're looking at about $100, no matter what. Just if you want to get a copy graded, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because I don't know how you design a flow system that could do it in a cheaper manner. Like the game MSRP is at 60 or whatever. It just is what it is. Trading
Right.
cards, I mean, you or me could go buy a pack for $6, open it now. And now with GameStop doing it for you, I could literally go to GameStop, rip open a pack, give my cards to the employee for like another $20 and, $25 call it. They're all graded. Like I can get my hit out of the pack in the store, sent off to PSA, 25 bucks out the door. It is, oh, again, I think one of the biggest reasons. Like you got the gambling and it's cheap gambling. Like, oh man, that's enticing.
I would push back a little bit on that is that okay, you could buy a pack for $6 and then grade it. It's all worthless. No one wants no
But what
one
if you get
wants
the
your
hit?
card.
What if you get the hit? That's what we're
Okay,
gambling.
if you get the hit, but
That's the
more
gamble.
likely than not, more
I could
likely
just
than
crack
not,
another one.
more likely than okay. So those $6 add up to $100 or whatever once you get the hit. Like you're assuming that one pack has exactly what you want to grade, and if you're just grading base cards, you're just throwing like lighting money on fire anyway.
Yeah, you
right?
have to get something out of it 100%. But,
Yeah.
that is also the barrier to getting expensive stuff. Say you're entering into video game collecting. Wow, I'd love to have an expensive thing. Your only option, you can go hunting. You can't do that, obviously, for sealed and graded, but you can go hunting, thrifting, like I said. But with cards, it's like, oh man, I can, like, even if I only have 6 to 7, like a little bit of money, I can crack something. And it's like, maybe you just have that hopium, man. That hopium and copium gets people in.
Okay. And another point I like to make is that a lot of people in the graded game hobby say, "Oh, it's so expensive to get in." Yeah, it's obviously it is more expensive than, grading a card for like 15 bucks or whatever. But if you go on eBay at any point in time, you can get if you don't want the 98 A plus plus, if you just want a Mario game, like a new Switch game, it's a 9.6 or something, you probably could get it for 50 bucks. So it's not as expensive as people think it is.
Yep.
And but it's definitely not as cheap as cards are.
It takes a little
That's
bit
for sure.
more knowledge, I guess, too. Like you have to be on eBay, you have to be watching auctions, you have to pay
Yeah, that's
attention.
fair.
Like if you want the best prices possible for stuff, you can do it cheaper, 100%. Even a Mario Wonder just sold today.
Yeah.
9.8 A plus plus. It was like 97 US. So, like it's cheaper than doing it yourself if you watch eBay auctions, if you do all that. But I, I I sympathize for people who maybe are card people who look over and it's like, really, it's $40 to grade a game. Like I can, you know what I mean? I wish it was
Okay.
cheaper.
Yeah, I don't think it ever will be because it's too niche. The volumes are not there, and the game is a 3D game. You have all these sides you gotta look at. It takes longer time than looking at a card that's back and forth. That's it.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you fully.
Yeah.
I want to talk too the utility for games TCG versus sports cards. So sports cards have nothing. TCG are a game. You're supposed to play the game with them. Comics have read and games have play. So as far as games go, I would say they have the most utility. Games or comics, I guess, but you play a game more than you read a comic, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just biased. I think it's a con because we have this segmented world now where obviously you've heard the phrase games are meant to be played. It segments this collector user base and also kind of creates a world where people don't look at video games as if they should be a collectible. Does that make sense?
It's a con now, but it's the reason why games are organically collectible. Same thing with comics. And honestly, with TCG, like I guess like the vintage, I mean, those population numbers are still crazy compared to like games. But even TCG, you're supposed to play the damn game, but
Yeah.
people are somehow okay with grading TCG. And
A
then you have all these
TCG
kids
has
ripping it open and just like looking at the shiny
it
stuff, like,
evolved
oh, I want to
itself.
grade it. Yeah,
Somehow TCG convinced it's entire like player base or its entire, you know what I mean? They shifted the whole thought process to, I guess Pokemon started with collect them all, but it's no longer about the game. It's like, oh, don't buy these to play the game. Who cares about the game? It's just like chase the rarities.
I want sealed boxes of Pokemon. Like it's crazy the mental gymnastics people do to be like, oh, that's okay, but sealed games are not.
Yep.
And it's okay. It'll just take time, man. I think people eventually will be like, oh, there's a mental like incongruence between what I'm thinking for this versus that. I mean, you just have all these loud heads in video games. Oh, they're meant to be played. Yeah, sure they are, and that's why they're worth something because all these old games were played. That's the
Yes.
whole point. Right? The whole point of them were to be played, but that's the reason why having a mint factory sealed vintage game is worth something because they weren't meant to be held and hoarded.
And it's why I think sports are literally like one of the biggest things is because they've for what 100 years now, 100 plus years, been
Over, yeah.
marketed as nothing more than a collectible. It's
No, 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 no,
a
no. But
token.
no, no. But these sports people are gonna be like, oh yeah, but I used to like put these sports cards in
Oh
bike
God,
spokes
yeah,
or
I
something like
know, I
that. It's
know. When
like
you have an
okay,
item with zero utility, the only thing to do is hold it. That's it. And if,
I'm sure some people put it in their bike spokes, but by and large, it's so damn easy to just put your card in a drawer and that's it. Forget about it. But if you put a game that's big and bulky and like, no one's gonna do that. No one did that. Very, very few people did that. So
Yep.
yes, it's a con for now, but in the long run, that's what creates its organic demand,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah,
Or
it's
organic
it's
collectability.
yes, and sports cards. What bike spokes was up until the '60s. When did sports actually become like the Mantle's 52? That's still rare. When did
Yeah.
sports cards become printed to crap? The '80s.
80s. No, but even at the 52 man, okay, so the reason why 52 Mandel is worth so much is because when it first came out, people didn't want the 52 tops set. It was actually there's a story that like the warehouses distributors they had so much left of it that they literally threw it down the bottom of the ocean. Pallets worth of the stuff. Yes.
Really?
52 tops. Yeah, people didn't want it. And that's why it's worth something because it wasn't like no one wanted to collect it. And that's why people want the 52 tops now. Yeah, okay, you got mantle
Interesting.
and stuff, but there's a story behind it. And then it also lowers the amount of supply because they actually threw away this stuff. Sort of like imagine if Funko Pops became something and they threw all this stuff in a landfill,
Funkos
right?
are the best example of something where it's like there's nothing to do with the item except collect it. But because of that, people collect it. Right? You don't have people
People
being
need
like,
to be
"Oh,
told.
Funkos are meant to be posed." Like you don't get that
Pe
because they're
People need to
useless.
be told. People
Yes.
need to be told that it's okay to collect. And there will always be a segment of people who will keep saying, "Oh, games are meant to be played." But I think eventually the smarter collector will think about it just a little bit more than, the surface level and be like, "Oh, wait, games weren't meant to be played." And I love games. Maybe I actually want to collect a factory sealed game because they were never meant to be in this condition.
Yep. That that
Period.
yes, and that I
It'll
guess brings
it'll
us here
take
to the
time.
final point and the biggest pro I think for both comics, vintage sports, video games. They have organic rarity. No one is telling you to collect any of this stuff. No one, the company isn't printing numbers on our video games. They aren't. It's all community driven as to what is the most expensive things. What do we chase after? 52 Mantle isn't more special than any other card. That is driven by the community interest there. The same way it is with Mario Bros. Mat, Hang Tab, whatever. That it's all community driven. Even TCG gets away from that because you know within a pack what your rare cards are. Even though they aren't serialized, you know what all of the double gold star rares are or whatever you're pulling out of there. Charizard's a holo. It started as a holo. It was always expensive and rare in the chase. The thing that makes video games and these other hobbies have any fun for me is that it's organic.
And I think in the long term you'll will win out. Honestly, obviously it depends on how many market participants come in. Every hobby needs its own like a wave of new market participants because there's always going to be like attrition of people leaving or people like moving and
It just is
moving
what
on
it
to
is.
different things in life. Yeah,
Yeah, it is what
but
it
you
is.
you always need new people to come in. And I think, after this whole like WATA scam type of thing, if like a few years ago, I think people will eventually move on from it. There will always be a segment of people who will keep saying, "Oh yeah, this the hobby is completely tainted forever." But dude, it's literally been what since 29 like this whole thing with the Pawn Stars thing 2019. It's
Something like
6
that.
years ago, man. You got this whole CGC scandals happening yesterday, last year, and no one's talking about it. But it's okay. Like people keep harping on this fact of like market manipulation 6 years ago. Everything was manipulated 6 years ago. PSA 10 Jordans were 700K and now they're what 150 to 200.
Yep.
Like is that not manipulation enough for you? But no, want to scan like Job's
But
it's
again, that's a you have the segmented user base of
yeah.
gamers and everyone who are super loud on this. Who cares about collecting? They're not to be collected anyway. Go play your game. So they don't care, of course, right? The prices went up. Boo, boo. Prices up. Bad. That's all it comes
That
down to.
yeah, but I honestly they are never gonna be in the space anyway. Like those people you can never convince, but they are the
No,
loudest and they're the majority. They're like 99% of people on Reddit. Like, yeah, they collect their they collect the games that they played and they're all like
Yes.
used and torn up and stuff. But they're never the type of people that we want in here anyway. They will never come in anyway. They don't understand the conditional rarity. They don't understand the organic
Well, it's
collectability.
like you said, right? It's that thing of like in the long run, you hope that these people they're so close, right? Because they understand games are meant to be played, but then they miss the like. That's why they're so collectible.
I think the new participants will actually come from different like other verticals like comics or cards or TCG. Like we already see some new people coming from TCG
Yep.
into your Discord,
Yep.
right? Or even crypto bros. Like you have some crypto bros coming in. Not so many, not so much sports cards, but I mean, I think a lot of people in sports cards are diving into TCG now, like Pokemon and stuff. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
eventually,
Yes.
I do think
Yes.
eventually that's the gateway to be like, oh, what came first? Pokemon games? What about games?
I
Like they all played games before. Everyone's played games. There is a connection point for everyone. Like everyone's played these games before. Like
I was
everyone
gonna
has
say,
their favorite game.
I think your sports people are first gonna hit comics because comics are the more established, more like I see video games and comics as very similar in their organic rarity
Yeah.
type of chase, and like cultural relevance type thing. But comics are undoubtedly much more established, have higher price tags too for the sports people because
Yeah.
as weird as it is, once prices go up, then people become interested. It's not interesting if
That's
it only
fair.
sells for $1,000. You need comics that are worth 10, 20, 30. So I do think a lot of the sports people will probably hit there first and then, slowly churn your way through the pop culture collectibles.
They're already going into TCG, so that's the gateway. Maybe a few years they go to comics. Yeah, maybe they come to
Okay,
games,
fair.
maybe they don't. Then it's fine.
Yeah.
But I will be here.
Yeah.
We'll be here,
We'll be
I
here
guess.
telling you why we're the smallest of the pop culture hobby. Maybe in another couple of years we won't be the smallest.
No, dude, if we're not the smallest, everything's gonna go up in
What we
crazy
beat
amounts.
VHS, I think. I think we're ahead of them.
VHS was never close to games. Come on now. Come on now. I'm sure there were sealed VHS collectors, but those were literally like bargain bin dollar
I
VHS
know.
tape. There never was a thing,
I know. There was
honestly.
like 6 months of VHS fun, and then that was it. One
Yeah.
auction.
I mean, people still buy VHS, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there
Yeah,
are
yeah. I
collectors
don't
out
want
there,
to.
but it's just way smaller.
I need to
Yeah.
punch down the one spot I can. Like,
Just leave them alone,
yeah.
man. Just let them
Imagine
be.
collecting VHS. Like,
Uh,
buy, sell, hold for the week. I got a tasty one for you here. I'm actually curious. I feel like you're not going to be on the side of this one, but Animal Crossing, Nintendo GameCube, made in Japan. The made in Japan pop right now is 9. Made in USA sits at 33. So black label copies, Japan and USA. Made in Japan, 9.88 plus copies. This is kind of nuts to me. So 7,500 in February, just a month ago, and 85 plus, also 7,500 back in November. 9.6A plus, 3,000 November as well. The Made in USA most recent sale I could find was a 9.6A plus for 1,200. That was this month. And raw
hmm.
USA copies on eBay are selling around 400 bucks. Where are you at on the Japan Animal Crossing? And maybe Made in Japan in general on GameCube?
I mean, maybe Japan's the new hottest thing, I guess.
It
I
is.
don't know if um, I do think it will maintain its value over time, but I don't know if the difference between the USA and Japan, like it's now what, like a 5x multiple to
Yeah,
get like a
yeah.
USA and
I
a
couldn't
Japan
find another
copy.
USA 9.8. There was one that was from it was like 10 months ago for 1,100 on Heritage. So it's kind of
Okay.
old though, you know what I mean? So I didn't want to mention it,
Yeah.
but just because a
Okay.
9.68 plus already went for 1,200.
It's like 3 to 5x.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a 2 to 3x in the future. Maybe not as much. But I do believe in the Japan copies because like by and large they're first prints or whatever. Like you love your first prints.
I do.
So
I do.
I do believe that if you want to have a GameCube game for a long term, you do want the Japan copies. But I don't know if the multiple, like the 3 to 5x does hold over
Yeah,
time.
I personally just think the valuation is too high versus USA. Like if you're telling me I have to pay 7,500 for a Japan copy, or let's even say 2,500 for USA, it's just like like I don't know, man. We're talking Total Pop 9, Total Pop 33. I get it; they're both small right now, but I have way too much fear about more of these Japan copies coming out because GameCube is not that old. Like it just isn't.
Yeah.
We're seeing more NES factory sealed come out still. So undoubtedly, there's going to be more of this GameCube stuff sitting in collections. Personally, if someone told me like, hey, you have a 9.88 plus or an 85 plus, oh my god, and you can get 7,500, I'm letting it go. Period. I'll just risk buying another one.
I sort of agree with you, actually, surprisingly, because I also think, well, VGA pops are they don't account for
I
beta
know, I
Japan
know. So
copies.
I can't even tell you the full
So
comps.
yeah, like when you actually look at the Made in Japan variant, for example, like Luigi's Mansion was like only one on the pop report. There's no
Yeah,
way.
they didn't
There's no
know. They
way.
didn't know.
They didn't
It's new.
know.
It's new. It's new
So
stuff. It just is.
so even if you're not accounting for raw, just like based off of VGA pop reports, there's more of them out there, and you don't know what's what. So, I mean, given the fact that there's a lot of uncertainty, if you can lock in some profits, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a sell for me if you own it. And honest to God, like hunt USA copies. I think there's, like you said, the gap there seems very very large. I think there's opportunity in high grade or even raw USA right now.
Hmm. Okay, cool with it. I'm cool with it.
You'll
Seller
accept
Japan
that?
copies. Seller copies. Yeah, seller Japan copies.
Sell
Honestly, I
USA.
view it more from a VGA pop report angle than raw copies because I think by and large raw copies are probably not going to get like A plus pluses.
No, no, no. But you'll still
Right.
land your 9.4s and 9.6s. You know,
Yeah.
get lucky,
Yeah.
get a 9.8 type thing.
But if you're looking for 9.8s, I don't think they're and many of them are out there, to be fair.
I would risk it. I would risk it. I would risk it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
do you even think Animal Crossing should be a GameCube Grail? How hot are you on it?
It's a tier 3 franchise. I think. No, okay. Here's my pump.
The success of the newest game was big, man.
During the pandemic, everyone was playing that damn game.
Yes,
It's
yes,
a
they
New
were.
Horizons, right?
Mhm.
Everyone was playing it. So the pandemic is
Put the game
still,
back
I
on the
guess, a
map.
little. I guess it's still fresh in people's minds, but give it 10 years, people are gonna look back. It's like, oh, I remember playing this game a ton, and then they're gonna be like, oh, Animal Crossing is great. So
In a
yeah.
positive or a negative, I don't know where
In a
you can.
positive, no, in a positive way, people were stuck in a pandemic just playing this damn game.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I think in a positive way, in 10 years or like 2030, people are like, oh, Animal Crossing is great.
Okay, yeah. I think
I want to have it.
before New Horizons, I would have said this game doesn't really matter. But New
Yeah,
Horizons, like,
yeah, I
just
can
put the
see that.
franchise back on the map.
Yeah, and it reflects on the pricing too
Yeah,
already. You know, people are chasing after it.
literally one of the most expensive GameCube games right now. Kind of crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But let us
Even
know
more
what you
so than
think.
Sunshine. Even
What?
more so than
I
Sunshine.
know, and
Even more so
that's
than Sunshine.
crazy to me. I know Sunshine's like not the most beloved game in the
Still a Mario
series, but
game.
like it's Mario. Yeah, Mario. Like
Yeah.
Sunshine should just beat it. Period. In my opinion.
Yeah. Hmm. All right.
Maybe have we done Sunshine yet? Maybe Sunshine's the next one.
Yeah, maybe Sunshine's the next one.
Maybe Sunshine's the next one. Well, let us know what you think about video games versus sports cards versus TCG versus comics. Do you participate in one of the hobbies? Do you participate in all of them? Definitely let us know what holds people back from one or joining another. There's a lot to unpack, so just let us know your thoughts. And of course, about Animal Crossing. Buy it, sell it, hold it. What are you guys doing with that game? Hit the like button before you go, and I'll see you guys in next week's episode.